Well, it is Monday, and that means it is Wolves update time with Mr. Joe Edwards, who seems to be in the loft today. A little bit of sunshine. Is that through the skylight there, Joe?
It is got the windows open, got the sunshine coming in, bit of fresh air, keep me awake, ready to crack on, mate.
Speaking about cracking on and a bit of fresh air, the Wolves players are going to get that today. They're back at Compton, I believe, and the start of some kind of build up in fitness, maybe like a new pre-season, I guess, for some of these players.
Yeah, so the plan was to get the players back to Compton for the return of well, the formation, I guess, of individual training, which is obviously a new thing for all of us and for these players. So basically, they're going into Compton staggered throughout the day, using a pitch each to train on. Will be have their fitness monitored in a similar manner, I guess, as to what they would for normal kind of returning to pre-season. But the big difference, of course, now is that everything is done alone. Strict social distancing rules in place. Turn up in your kit, take it back home to wash it. A lot of the facilities at Compton, not in use, just to avoid those big groups coming together. So it's something for the players at least. They're able to step up their training. They're getting coronavirus tests as well, so the results of them should be come about in about 24 hours' time. So fingers crossed they're all okay. But players are back at Compton doing something at least that would somewhat resemble normality to them.
But yet, with the season, still in limbo, it's very difficult to know what kind of levels you need to be at and when.
Yeah, exactly. There's no return date yet. Of course, Premier League meeting happening as we speak, but no big decision expected to come of that today. But even though there isn't expected to be a big decision today, the Premier League have got until May 25th to make a decision as outlined by UEFA. So while nothing is expected today or perhaps by the end of this week, time is kind of running out. So hopefully we'll have an update sooner rather than later.
Good stuff. Look, we've been talking the last few weeks about our players of the season so far. Kind of separate that down into positional reviews, and we're with the forwards today, or the strikers. So let's start off with someone who has been, well, it's probably the new, I would say, the best, the most excitable fans' favourite of the lot in Raul Jimenez. Would you say that he's the crowd darling at this moment in time?
Well, it's the chance, isn't it, on everybody's lips? See, Senor, you got the Mexican wrestling masks, you got the sombreros. He's kind of captured the imagination of Wolves supporters over these past couple of years, and rightly so. And we thought his first season was fantastic. Well, if that was, this one has been on another stratosphere, to be honest. 22 goals in 44 matches across all competitions, which is a top strike rate, puts him in that elite bracket really in terms of strikers across Europe. So he's been a delight to watch. There's been all sorts of goals, and he's not just a scorer, is he? He brings such a lot to the team. Kind of sets the tone for everyone else with his pressing and his hold up play, and he's been relentless, and he's well up there, if not the player of the season so far.
Someone who's right on his tails though, and I was going to say the most improved player this season, but Saiz might have to have a shout in that as well. But definitely a player who, if you were offered the £18 million that you had to pay for him at the start of this season, I'm sure plenty of Wolves fans would have taken it. He's now become one of the most sought after players in European football, and that is Mr. Adama Traore.
Well, 18 million has become 80 million, hasn't it, really? Which has kind of been the touted figure for him after such an exceptional season. I think it was some BBC award last week. There was some vote and determined him the surprise package of the season, and that is apt, really, because nobody really saw it coming. Difficult first season at Wolves, as we've mentioned a lot of times, but this one has just been exceptional from start to finish, and it's been a joy to watch. It really has. He's tore defences apart, limb from limb, He's just been an unstoppable force. There's no one like him. Most successful dribbles of anyone in Europe, more than Lionel Messi. So he's been quite special this season and a delight to watch.
He certainly has. The man on the other side as well has had a mixed start, I think you could say, or be safe to say, this year. But look, he was starting to find his feet. He's obviously is very efficient playing out wide, but maybe prefers to be more central in Diogo Jota. Jota.
Well, I think he's been very good actually. I know he has his blips at times, but I wrote a piece of the weekend saying he's my favourite Wolves player ever, and he just nobody kind of evokes such excitement and get on the edge of your seat as Jota does. I know we talk about Traore running past players, but Jota runs through them, and again, he's such a unique player. Having someone with that willingness to run at defenders and take risks and create chances and score goals, he's exceptional, and quietly has scored 15 goals in all competitions this season. Obviously, Jimenez earns a lot of praise from a lot of quarters for the goals he has scored, and rightly so. But Jota, while he's mainly shone in the Europa League, 15 goals in all competitions, certainly not to be sniffed at, and he's another player that seemingly is going from strength to strength.
One player who didn't, and look, it was pretty surprising when he was sold or loaned with a view to be sold was Patrick Cutrone. Fans really gave him a brilliant welcome, and it just didn't work out for him really. Were you surprised to see him go so early?
It was perhaps a bit ruthless, wasn't it? But I think, with the benefit of hindsight, he didn't really fit in, did he? With the kind of style of Wolves, versatility. Can you play a number of positions? In Cutrone's case, it was no. He was a centre forward and nothing else. I know Jimenez is a centre forward, but he drops deep. He links up play. If he really needed to, could almost play as a number 10. You wouldn't want him to, but he could if needed. Cutrone was a poacher, a fox in the box, and didn't really bring quite enough for Nuno and that playing style, and that is ultimately why he was sold. Not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, a good striker who's definitely probably got a good career ahead of him, but just for someone else, I think he just wasn't Wolves' style. And then you look at some of the other forwards that have played this season, Pedro Neto, for example, a flexible guy, and that's truly in that Wolves mould.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to come on to. There's someone like Pedro Neto who's done so well and probably better than what a lot of people would have thought he would have done this season. Probably allowed that Cutrone decision to happen because he was very much interchangeable on that right or the left, but probably more on the left hand side, and allowing the likes of Jota to go into the centre if needed.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about Wolves' young player of the season, it's Pedro Neto, isn't he? Without question. Now we've had Max Kilman make a bit of a breakthrough. But it is Neto. Nobody expected this from him, really. I mean, coming in as an unknown, nobody had heard of him, and brought him pretty much under the radar with Bruno Jardel, of course, and has been fantastic. He's scored goals, he's assisted goals, he carries the ball with such grace. It's a real kind of fascinating watch he is. So. Exciting to see what he brings in the future. And then just quickly on Daniel Podence, I mean, 17 million quid brought in January. Because of this virus, we haven't been really able to see what he can do. But again, I think he fits that Wolves mould, can play in a number of positions. Obviously, that Portuguese contingent that's already there helps him. So fingers crossed. As well as Neto, we'll see a bit more of Podence when football restarts, and Wolves' forwards will carry on firing.
Now, if and when the season restarts, or next season, let's look ahead to next season, and of course a lot has to be worked out, but let's say, fingers crossed, that everyone stays, or at least the front few stay. Would you expect Wolves to sign an out-and-out striker in the summer, or do you feel they've got other areas they want to fill and they could get away with not adding to the squad up front?
It'd be nice to see a striker, because if Jimenez is struck down with an injury, fingers crossed, touch wood he isn't, but then there would be short in that position. Yes, you have got Jota who can play through the middle, but in terms of a definite out and out number 9, there would be short in that position. So maybe a young player who's got a bit something to prove, with an eye on the future, maybe who can kind of learn the ropes a little bit. That would be the ideal scenario. But as you say, I think it's not necessarily, if they keep hold of Jimenez, a must do, but it'd be something that perhaps you'd like to see in an ideal world.
Good stuff, Joe. Thank you very much for the update. Podcast will be Thursday, back on Friday for you all to download. And of course, we'll be speaking to you next week about, well, the latest developments and of course the manager himself, Mr. Nuno Espirito Santo. Thank you very much, Joe.
Bye-bye.